Welcome to this lesson on how to develop a team performance plan, a vital tool in building a high-performance team. Up to this point, we have approached promoting performance improvement through enhancing motivation, managing team dynamics, and improving the work environment. To achieve a strong performance focus, we also need to align our efforts closely with the strategic goals of the business. To do this, we need to create team and individual performance plans, or agreements. In this unit, we will look at how we can put together a team performance plan. So where does managing performance fit within the bigger picture of managing a business? In successful organizations, personal performance management supports delivery of the organization's strategic agenda, through alignment with the business unit's goals, and integration with the company's business performance reporting system. As a team or business unit leader, your task is to develop a team performance plan, or contract, which will provide feedback to your people on performance, and form the basis for them to develop their individual plans. So, how do we set about developing a team plan, or performance contract? The first step is a planning session. It is vital to involve your team in identifying the objectives and targets. Ownership leads to commitment. You should also agree schedules, and gain commitments to targets and milestones from them. Finally, build a mechanism or process to provide regular feedback for your people on the performance of the team. Planning team performance normally requires aligning the team objectives with those of your business unit or company, setting targets to meet those objectives, and making a commitment to achieve them. Team performance planning will normally comprise the following elements. First, you set objectives which produce results in business activity, such as operations, sales and financial objectives, and goals related to improving the effectiveness of the business through innovation, or problem solving, such as in new technologies, process efficiencies and new systems. The next task will be to identify targets and measures to enable monitoring of achievement of the objectives. The final step is to create a review and reporting process, which provides regular feedback to your team members and to your stakeholders on team performance. The team performance plan form will look something like this, and will normally contain the following elements: business unit goal, a brief list of the longer-term strategic outcome statements for the business, team objectives, specific to the work of the team, and aligned with the business goals, measures, developed for each objective and used to frame targets, weighting, normally assigned out of 100 to indicate the relative importance of each objective. Not all agreement forms require this. And targets, quantitative outcomes or milestones which define the performance levels to be reached. Most successful organizations use the cascading, or waterfall goal-setting method. This means that the executives set the business goals first, and then those goals flow down through the organization. This ensures that everyone is on the same page and working for the same thing. This chart provides an illustration of a waterfall cascade of objectives from the business and airline to the sales team. We can see that the airline has a target of growing sales by 10%. To help achieve this objective, the commercial division plans to grow market share in core regions by 15%. The sales team then has set targets to increase sales in specific regions by between 15% and 30% in 2020. Does this sort of cascade happen in your organization? Are you given the goals of the business before you draw up your own team plan? The first step in the process is identifying your objectives. There are a number of possible sources from which you can get information on developing your objectives, including the company's strategic or business plan, the unit's business plan, your team charter, or your team scorecard. It is useful to think in terms of two different types of objectives. The first are routine work objectives. Here are some examples. Achieve coal hauling targets in tons per hour. Achieve sales targets in dollars per day. Or, achieve unit costs of $8 per unit. Here are some examples of innovation or problem-solving objectives. Introduce a new customer fast check-in system. Open a new coffee shop in Terminal 2. Or implement a customer contact management system. And remember when setting your objectives to follow the SMART principle. Make sure your objectives are specific, measurable, attainable, agreed, relevant, and time-specific. In setting objectives for your performance plan, there is no point in developing objectives for which your team does not have control, or which are completely unrealistic. For example, we would increase sales by 150% this year. Or, we would improve the satisfaction of our workforce by 50% next year. Or even more impossible, we will achieve 100% customer satisfaction in 2021. The next step is to identify performance measures. Here are some pointers on locating performance measures. Measures can be extracted from your business unit scorecard, if you have one. They may also be available in your position description. Additionally, measures should be developed for each objective. They must of course be measurable. That is, data must be relatively easy to capture. And finally, measures must be verifiable by your manager or others. Here are some examples of measures from the mining industry. Number of lost time injuries. % weekly maintenance plan compliance. % raglan availability, and overburden kbcm, or bench cubic meters. And here are some example improvement project measures. You may select a measure related to project completion, such as, successfully execute Astrolab project on time. Introduce the new shift roster by May 2021. Or recruit a new sales manager by November 2021. So, just how many objectives should we include in a plan? Much depends on the size of your team, and its scope of work. As a rule of thumb for a business unit, or team, having between 6 and 12 measures is reasonable. Ideally, you should have at least one measure for each objective. The next step is to set targets. Targets can be set for a range of standard metric types. For example, grow sales of product B to $25.8 million by year end. %. For example, grow sales in Asia by 30% next year. Ratio. For example, achieve a staff-to-customer ratio of 1:4 by year end. Raw number. Increase fleet size to 108 vessels by year end. And finally, date. Complete installation of new CRM system by August the 30th. This table provides an illustration of some measures and targets from a local government agency. The targets are all specific and measurable, and will ideally have been negotiated with the teams and individuals. Now, consider this task. How would you develop measures and targets for these example objectives? Check the next slide for some possible answers. And here are some possible measures and targets for the objectives on the previous slide. For example, if the objective is to reduce the number of customer complaints, the measure will be the average number of complaints made per month, and the target will be less than 8 complaints per month. You should also look for methods to reward your team for better performance. Consider introducing team-based performance incentives. There are many possibilities here, from free dinners or weekend vacations, to straightforward financial rewards for the team. And finally, where viable, align team incentives with individual performance incentives. Team performance contracts, or performance plans, are a key building block in creating a performance-focused business. They are complemented by individual performance contracts, or agreements. Individual performance contracts are best developed from team, or team leader performance contracts. This is where team leaders help their staff understand how their roles fit into the larger picture of organizational success. From there, each staff member develops specific performance goals and targets that are aligned with the company's strategic goals. To learn more about planning and managing individual or personal performance, see our courses is Managing Performance. Step 3 is to confirm data sources. Before selecting a measure, be sure you can secure data to support it. Ask yourself, who or where will I get the data from? Which system produces the data? Do I need to produce a separate query or system report to generate the data? Do I need to invent a manumatic process for capturing the data? Is capturing the data worth the effort involved? And will I be able to get the data frequently enough? Once you have finalized your plan, you need to implement it. Here are some tips. Share the plan with your team and your manager. Create a reporting process to capture the performance data and generate reports. Report to your team on performance regularly, this may be monthly or quarterly. Conduct team performance reviews with your team at least quarterly. Use the reviews to identify opportunities for improvement. Use the plan to celebrate achievements. And finally, communicate your team's successes to your manager and to others in the organization whenever possible. A team performance plan is a highly valuable tool to secure commitment to achieving the goals of the team and the business. The team contract is best developed by the team themselves and in alignment with the goals of the business. The performance contract should comprise a small number of attainable but challenging objectives and targets for which the team can feel ownership. The team should receive regular feedback on their progress against targets, and ideally, a team rewards and incentive scheme should be set up. Additionally, you should seek to align individual performance plans with those of the team, and incentives similarly where possible. Subscribe now and join us in your career journey. Thank you for watching this lesson. We hope you have found it useful. Visit one of our websites to view our range of courses on operations and quality management.